Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Scars and Markets podcast. I'm your host, Johnston Pierre-Antoine. And in today's video, we'll be breaking down UFC 319 and Canelo versus Crawford coming up on September 13th. So, the main event for UFC 319 is Khamzat Chimaev versus the champion, Dricus du Plessis. I believe Khamzat Chimaev is going to win because not only has his grappling been dominant since he has joined the UFC, I do believe for a Chechen fighter and a Eastern European fighter, he does have better striking than most guys from that region. Now, Dricus du Plessis, he's not one to be slept on, but I believe his style is very unorthodox, and I don't believe he has a takedown defense to counter Khamzat's offense. Now, the co-main event, we have Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Now, we haven't seen much of Aaron Pico in a long time due to his career being halted for some reason. But now he's making his comeback, and Lerone Murphy's undefeated. So he's on a roll right now. But I believe that we haven't seen Lerone Murphy's too much of his grappling, but we know Aaron Pico he's a well-rounded fighter, not only in the striking department, but also on the ground. So I believe Aaron Pico's going to win that fight. He's going to take Lerone Murphy's O, but let me not sleep on Lerone because he could pull an upset. And on the other fights in the card is Geoff Neal versus Carlos Prates. Now, this is Carlos Prates' comeback fight after his last fight because when he lost to Ian Gary. Now, Geoff Neal is a veteran in the game, but I do think his age is going to catch up to him in this fight. And also, Carlos Prates, his striking is just going to be too good for Geoff. And we haven't seen much of Geoff Neal's grappling, so I don't think he's going to take it to the ground. He's more than likely going to try to stand and bang with Carlos. But we'll see what his game plan is going to be coming in. All I could do is give you my prediction, but I do give Carlos Prates the edge on that. The next fight we have is this one could be a co-main event. And I believe it would make more money. It should have been the co-main event. We have Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. So MVP is going to sell out by himself, but Jared Cannonier, he's not one to sleep on because all it takes is one punch with Jared. But we all know Michael Venom Page, he has the footwork, the speed, the agility, and the experience to counter whatever Jared Cannonier can throw at him. So I'm going to give MVP the edge on that one. And then the last one, we have Tim Elliott and Kai Asakura. Now, I'm familiar with Tim Elliott, but I'm not familiar with Asakura, so I'm going to give it to Tim just simply based off of what I've seen him in the past. But we never know. These Japanese fighters have been doing really well. Like last weekend, the Japanese fighter versus Sung Young Park, I believe, the Korean fighter. The Japanese fighter won. And they've been doing well not only in the UFC, but also in ONE FC as well. So we're going to see what happens come fight night. So now let's break down Khamzat versus Dricus du Plessis. Now, Dricus versus Rob Whittaker, that was a good fight. But now, Rob Whittaker versus Khamzat, that was so dominant coming from Khamzat, and from start to finish. And everyone was saying that Robert Whittaker was going to be the one to slow down Khamzat's career, put a halt on his game. But what did you see what happened? Khamzat went in there, steamrolled him, fought his own fight, dictated the pace from start to finish, took him down and submitted him, and then broke his lower jaw, which with the rear naked choke, as he predicted. So that's why I came to the conclusion: never ever bet against Khamzat. Now, if he loses and Dricus retains his title, that won't be the end. I see Khamzat coming back in a rematch and beating him, but that's highly unlikely. And they also put a bet up that if Khamzat takes him down, every time he takes him down, he'll pay him $10,000. So Khamzat has a lot of extra motivation to do it. And I'm going to touch on it a little bit, but Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria. Now, if I was Ilia Topuria, I would say he's doing the right thing by fighting Paddy Pimblett, simply because if I was Ilia, Arman is the toughest fight in the division for anybody at 155. But Paddy Pimblett, he has more name value, so he's better for marketing reasons and for selling out the arena. But Arman, pound for pound, skill for skill, he's the best at 155. And I believe if he fights Islam Makhachev in the rematch, he will win, and he will have the belt. After his back injury, in which he had to pull out the belt, a lot of people were doubting him. A lot of people were saying that he was scared. But what they don't understand is that 99% of fighters fight with some sort of injury. But that's because they need the money. Arman does not need the money. He already has money from his family. So he's going to make the wiser decision and let his body heal so that when he fights, he doesn't have an excuse saying, oh, I was injured, things of that nature. So if anything, if you want to hate on him for making a business decision, then you're just a casual and you lack common sense. Because I'm half of y'all call out of work to not because you're sick for some reason or you have a cold. So don't try to conflate the two, or don't try to make Arman seem like he's scared of Islam Makhachev, because that's not the case. They already fought one time before. Also, now we're gonna go down to Canelo versus Crawford. I believe Crawford has what it takes to beat Canelo. Because now look, Canelo, yes, he's experienced, but Crawford has the same amount of experience. Crawford is a 2-time undisputed world champion. Canelo is an undisputed world champion. Canelo's been fighting greats like Floyd Mayweather. Who else? The list goes on. We all know Canelo's resume. And Crawford's last fight versus, Madrimov, everyone was saying, oh, he had a tough time at 154 pounds. That wasn't the case. Madrimov has a very obscure style, which made Crawford have to be more meticulous. So it wasn't him being 154 pounds, which made it difficult for him. It was just Madrimov has a more active style than Canelo. So don't try to conflate the weight class differences as the reason why Crawford is going to lose that fight. Now, at 168, Crawford is going to be stronger, faster, and more comfortable simply due to the fact he doesn't have to cut any weight. And on top of that, strength is not going to be an issue, because when he was out fighting at 135 pounds and 140 pounds, he was deadlifting 400 pounds. So let's stop acting like his strength is going to be a factor. They're going to weigh in the same weight come fight night. And on top of that, Crawford has a much higher IQ than Canelo. And you cannot argue with me on that. And if you do, please comment down below, and we can go back and forth on that. But now, in terms of knockout power, everyone's saying Crawford doesn't have enough knockout power to knock out Canelo, which is a fallacy, because they're wearing 8-ounce gloves. In all cases, one punch, and the punch that you don't see is the one that's going to knock you out. Now, Canelo mostly fights from a high guard defense, right? Crawford has various forms of defense. Crawford can fight from the Philly shell. Crawford could utilize the high guard, do catching counters. Crawford can fight on the back foot, move laterally very well, and also he can stand and bang if he wants to. Do I recommend him doing that versus Canelo? No. But I believe that if Crawford fights off the back foot, utilizes his jab, masters his range and distance control, starts up the fight southpaw, once he wears down Canelo, gets Canelo's cardio down, I say working the body, then he could switch to orthodox and finish the fight. But from Canelo's perspective, he understands that Crawford's going to fight off the back foot majority of the fight due to the size difference and the power difference, right? But that's just us assuming that that's what's going to happen. And come fight night, we don't know what's really going to manifest. But I could see from my prediction, Canelo trying to walk him down, cutting off the ring, focusing more on collision punches to try to catch Crawford off guard. He's definitely going to be throwing a lot of punches at Crawford's guard to deteriorate it, to eventually break him down. But I don't see Canelo having more cardio than him. I don't see it. I give Crawford the speed aspect, but I will give Canelo the power, the power department. I'll give him the +1 in the power department, because we have seen him knock out guys with one punch, but we haven't seen Crawford knock out anyone with one punch over past 147. So we don't know how his power is going to translate. So I look forward to seeing how that unfolds. But again, but Canelo could surprise us, and I don't want you guys to be like, oh, I'm just gassing up Crawford. No, it's just I studied both fighters, and Crawford has way more tools in his bag. The only thing you can ever give Canelo in this It's just the weight class difference. But yeah, guys, I give Crawford the edge in this fight, and I would love to see what you guys think. Also, some updates on my career. So we have a card. We have a fight on October 18th, and then there's another fight for Cage Titans in Plymouth. That one's, I believe it's September 13th, but I'm gonna confirm that date with you guys. But I want the October 18th fight is no boundaries. That one is before my birthday, so I'm looking forward to that one. And the Cage Titans, that one is a MMA promotion, so we're gonna be looking forward to that one as well. So I'm gonna keep you guys updated on that. Also, if you guys want to support the brand, we have these hoodies coming out. Also, we have a new V2 version of these hoodies. Also, we have the hats. I do not have the hat right now, it's over there, but I'm gonna be putting it on the Stand store, and I'm gonna put it on the Shopify store today. So if you guys want to support, please tap in. And everything's reasonably priced, high quality, 100% cotton. And you're supporting the brand, you're supporting my mission. If you guys love this content, like and subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for the next episode. I'm gonna clip this up, and I'm gonna be dropping another episode tonight, and then tomorrow we're gonna drop 2 episodes. So yeah, man. Also, I want to start doing this before every segment. I don't know what you guys believe in, but I always say this: if you're a fighter and you feel depressed, or you feel like you don't have any forms of support, or you feel like you want to quit. I saw Danny Garcia talking about this the other day on a podcast, and he was saying how he was 20-0 as a fighter, but he was only making $5,000 a fight, and he was about to quit and become a firefighter. But then he started thinking to himself, okay, and with the help from his father, it was like, okay, what am I not doing compared to the guys who are making the money? Okay, he went over and worked with Al Heyman, because Al Heyman was putting guys like Andre Berto on, putting guys like Floyd Mayweather on. I always say this: you gotta wear many hats in this game, especially in 2025. We have social media, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, Snapchat. There's ways to get your name out there. So if you just want to simply be a fighter who's just focusing on fighting, you would have to have a support system. Like, I've noticed a lot of these Muslim fighters, they tend to support themselves. So a lot of them have some financial backing, whether it's if they're from a Russian area, usually the state supports them, or they have benefactors like Turki Al-Sheikh, or they have other guys who are just supporting their careers, which is why they might not be as vocal as more Western fighters who don't have that support system. But for the Western fighters, and from my own experience, you have to wear all the hats. You have to be your own manager. You have to be your own PR, your own media team, your own cameraman. You know what I mean? You have to be making your own merch. You have to be putting your own name out there, because no one's gonna care about your shit like you do. So, and also too, communicate with your coaches, because one thing that I had to deal with was coaches trying to claim you as a fighter. You go to a gym, a lot of us were young, didn't know where to start, and easily manipulated. And I feel bad for so many fighters, because some of them, their hearts are that loyalty thing can get manipulated by a lot of people, is what I'm trying to say. Because a lot of coaches will know a fighter is loyal, but he's not teaching him the right things. Or you can see the fighter is getting hit so many times. You can see the fighter is lacking so many aspects of his game that he should develop. But simply because of him not wanting to seem unloyal, he makes terrible decisions for his career, and he later on regrets it. I don't want to say the name, but a fighter that I know really close to me, he's an undefeated fighter. I don't want to say the belt he won recently, but he's an undefeated fighter from my town. And he was talking to another coach, and he was continuously hit up that coach, begging him, please train me, because the guy who brought him into the gym taught him all that he could teach him. And we all see it. He gets hit way too much. So he reached out to my old coach, who I believe is a way slicker boxer who has a higher fighting IQ, and he'd beg him to train him, but the other coach didn't train him simply because he didn't want to step on anyone's toes. And that mentality is only gonna take you so far. You're gonna end up regretting the decisions that you're making, because fighting is a young man's sport, and once you start reaching 30 years old, all that damage is gonna catch up to you, bro. So that's why now it's like within these first 10 years, you have to make decisions. Whether if you don't want to seem cutthroat, communicate with the coaches head on. Well, now at 22, when I meet a new coach or when I go to a new gym, I let them know, hey, I train at various other locations, and I'm building a team across different gyms. I'm not locked down at one gym. And if you want a fighter to only train with you, I understand, and I'm just not that fighter for you. And you go your separate ways. But if he truly cares about your development, he's not gonna care about that. So that could either be a shit test, you know. You could ask a coach that and see if he's really gonna try to be overbearing or try to convince you or make you sign a contract to stay locked in at his gym, man. I've seen so many careers go down the toilet because of that, and it's sad to see that. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna keep this camera rolling because I can make many clips out of this. Let me see what else I could talk about today. Let's see. Okay, let's go to PFL. Now, actually no, let's go to one championship. So in one championship, the champion Reagan Ursel. I made an episode about him yesterday, 2 days ago. And with Reagan, he is a 2-sport world champion at the same promotion. But here's the thing, fighters have to understand. I would love to fight at one championship, but you can tell they focus on promoting Asian fighters. So that is their biggest thing. I see a new video on Rod Tang every day of the week. I see a new video on Superbon. I see a new video on Superlek. I see a new video on the Supergirl. You see, like, that's all the people they market. But Reagan Ursel, the Immortal, who was on a 7-year win streak, they don't even promote him, and he's vocal about it. He just knocked out George Jarvis the other day, and I couldn't even find the fight, and it was like 3 days ago, 4 days ago. I couldn't even find the full fight on YouTube, which means the company isn't posting these guys. And to make matters worse, in their MMA division, the heavyweights, Rug, the Senegalese wrestler, his real name is Umar Khan. He beat the Russian heavyweight champion, but it's as if the company still markets the Russian heavyweight champion as the light heavyweight champion. Sorry, he's the current light heavyweight champion, but they still market him as if he's the heavyweight champion, which to me is a slap to the face to Rug, because when I had to do deep research just to find that Rug is the heavyweight champion right now in 2025, which is a shame, because not only do these guys sacrifice so much in the ring, but outside the ring, the least you could do as a promotional company is promote the fighters. And that's why I always say you have to take the initiative and do it yourself, because these guys, they have narratives they want to push. They definitely have agendas they want to push. They definitely have their demographic who they want to see succeed in this. So as a fighter, you have to take it into your own hands. And you could look at the Brazilian method. The Brazilians, they roll deep. For example, the Fighting Nerds group, they don't speak a lick of English. Carlos speaks some English, but majority of them don't speak no English. But what they do is they target their audience, which is Portuguese speakers, and they push out the content every single day. They're networking with guys like Full of Violence, that team over there. They do a great job of promoting them, and they link up with Jackson Podcast guys, Santos Studios. So they're doing their due diligence, and that's why you see Moicano doing talking about Bitcoin. Like, he barely speak English, but he's over here in commercials about Bitcoin. Why? Because he's putting himself in position. He's not seeing what he can't do. He's looking at what he can do. And that's why, some guys, bro, like, for example, we have Kevin Holland. He doesn't care about being the world champion, but he's always in someone's mouth. His name is always in someone's mouth. And I've noticed that he says that he just wants to fight, collect his like 50K, 80K, 100K checks, and then he's straight. But now, that's for him. But if you want to be a world champion, you got to keep in mind that once you win that belt, you have to continue, you have to re-sign a new contract. So there is no winning the belt and vacating it and moving on to a new division, or winning the belt, getting your name to a certain status, and then you want to go do something like boxing or, you know what I mean, or kickboxing, you know, you utilize your name and leverage it to make more money. No. We saw what happened to GSP. We saw what happened to Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's in his 40s now about to fight in boxing because they damn near ruined his career, locking him into that terrible contract, even though he's been fighting to get released for so long. So that's the thing these fighters don't understand. It's about leverage and positioning. If you don't have the money to say fuck you, if you don't have the money to turn down fights, if you don't have the clout to sell the tickets or to have a fan base, you're at the whims of these promoters and these managers, and you can just kiss your career goodbye, bro, because you're giving your life in the hands of people who don't care about you. They just want to make money off of you. So that's something that I learned, and you guys can let me know what you think about that below. But that's why we call this show Scars and Markets, because it's not about just the fighting. It's about the business aspect of it too. Again, educate yourselves, wear all the hats you can, learn how to market yourself, learn how to advertise yourself. Don't just live in the gym, because if you do, your skills will stay in the gym. No one will ever see it, and you've just wasted years of your life. So guys, that's all I got for y'all today, man. So I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode, and stay blessed. You know, that's all I can say. Stay blessed, stay focused, stay locked in, and keep training, and do not be lazy. All right. So love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.